I am not a journalist, but after digging into one topic today I heard about, after just doing a little bit of research into one subject that I read about in a news article, I am convinced that 420 journalists are just lazy stoners. I don't know. I'm a little blown away by this. So a few days ago on Twitter, everybody's talking about boycott Krispy Kreme, boycott the NFL. They're actively donating to keep weed illegal. They don't want you to get high. And I'm thinking, not Krispy Kreme. I love donuts. Like, name a more iconic duo right here. You stop at the Dispo and then you get some donuts on your way home. Like, it sounds perfect. But there's this image floating around of a bunch of brands that donated to the CADCA, which the CADCA is the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. They have communities all over the US and they raise money. They do a few events throughout the year. They raise money to keep kids off drugs, and they also do some lobbying against keeping weed legal. But this isn't quite about that or about them right now. It's about this image I saw on Leafly, and then after doing some digging, I also found this image, which I don't know if one ripped off the other or one was lazy, but they're both lazy, and I'm going to tell you why. We got Krispy Kreme, we got the NFL. Let's go back to the Leafly one, because this is the first one I saw. I think this is the one maybe most people saw. Krispy Kreme right at the top, bro. You can understand why some of these pharmaceutical companies would want to pay to keep weed illegal or whatever. You got to question, why is Krispy Kreme doing it? This is why I think the journalism was lazy here, because if you were to actually do any amount of digging, like this image probably took 20-30 minutes to make, right? You got to find a transparent background logo, you got to shape them all, you got to fit them all into this big image so it doesn't look weird. This didn't take less than 20 minutes. But if they would have spent like 2 or 3 minutes digging on the website, digging on the CADCA's website, this list would either be way longer or look way different. So this image is based off some tweets. I found this article here. But Peter Grinspoon, who is the son of Dr. Grinspoon, if you've ever heard of the strain. If you haven't, Google search Dr. Grinspoon strain right now, or do it later. It looks really cool. It's some of the coolest looking weed, but come back here. But here's the images a little blown up. So it was a list on the CADCA's website, .org/corporate partners. And on this list, NFL Krispy Kreme, the guy tweeted these lists out and was asking about it. And shortly after, they actually removed the page. When you go to the web page now, it shows you this: access denied. And a lot of people were screaming, oh my God, it's a cover up. They're trying to hide. They don't want you to know that donuts don't want you to get high. And while, I want to believe that, right? You want to jump right into that. Like, obviously, bro, the conspiracy theory checks out. I'm convinced that the list that they had up there was just way out of date, and most of those weren't active sponsors, because I did some digging through their website. They're not trying to hide any of their sponsors. They just removed the one page, or removed that list that had some companies on there hadn't donated in years, and I think Krispy Kreme is one of them. Now, this is their actual most recent event, and it happened a couple of months ago in October. It's their 24th annual drug-free kids campaign. It's one of the events that they do. I think they just auction off a bunch of stuff, and maybe they keep kids off drugs. I don't know. That's not about that. But you can look through their list of sponsors here, and when you scroll through the list, you don't see the NFL. You see Snapchat. Snapchat's right up there. Don't you think this big list of brands, you're trying to catch everybody's eyes with logos, that you would put Snapchat right on there? Snapchat just donated to an event that happened 2 months ago. They're not on your big list here. Brands to avoid. Everybody's like, this is the list, bro. Boycott all of these brands. Well, boycott Snapchat too, right? And this is why they didn't do any research. They didn't do any digging, because the list would have more brands on there and different brands. Well, I don't recognize all these. I didn't look into them all. There's some other brands you would notice, like the NBA. Don't you think that NBA logo would make sense right next to the NFL logo? The NBA has donated more recently than the NFL. I'm not saying the brands on here haven't donated, but some of them haven't donated, and it looks like 7 years. So that list that they removed from the website, it might have been inactive. And going through their website and seeing how lackluster and disorganized it is, like, somebody who's really good at making websites did not make this website. The URL slugs aren't consistent with each other. None of it makes sense. But here's that same event from last year, the 23rd annual one. We look through here, we see some brands we recognize, but we see Walmart. Don't you think you'd put Walmart on the list if you were trying to include all these big brands and be like, oh my God, boycott all these? Don't you think you'd put Walmart on there? Walmart has donated more recently than Krispy Kreme. And then just looking through, I think NBA was on this one. Yeah, NBA over here for their 23rd annual one. I couldn't find the 22nd annual one. There was like a page that had all the events that you could just look up and kind of find the information on. But like I said, their website is just like bad. I clicked the one for the 22nd annual. It takes me to the 23rd annual. So the website's a little bit poorly made, but going through their 21st annual one, we see some of the brands that we've already seen, but we see the NBA here. And this is what I thought was funny. We see Walmart again here. We see, I guess this is the Baltimore Ravens. We see an actual NFL team. And the actual NFL team donated more than the NFL. This is the National Football League Foundation. I'm assuming it's what they use to donate to charities. But they're only a bronze sponsor, and an actual NFL team is a silver sponsor. And bro, the NBA is a platinum sponsor, bro. They gave more than the NFL. They didn't make Leafly's hit list of brands to avoid over here. Bro, they did Krispy Kreme so dirty here, putting it at the top. And is it the biggest logo on the screen? Maybe similar size to some of the other ones, but bro, right at the top. But NBA donated more than the Baltimore Ravens and more than the NFL. Here's another one. Here's the 20th annual. This is from a few years ago, right? I think that list, that corporate sponsors list, was just, they were adding to it. They would send that off and be like, look at all of our other sponsors. Because when you see a bunch of brands you recognize, you might be more likely to donate. That's why you go to big websites, they have logos everywhere that you recognize. But you'd think they would mention Walmart, you'd think they would mention the NBA if they did any bit of research, any bit of digging. This is another event they did this year back in July. They do a mid-year training, they do like a dinner. They have like a few different events. But the sponsors on here, we got Snapchat again. That's from this year. You would think they would put Snapchat on the list. But nobody did any research. Nobody at Leafly did any. They just went with one thing. Oh, we linked this one page of corporate partners and it's not there anymore. Boom, cover up. Here's another page with another event they did with some sponsors on there. No Krispy Kreme. No NFL. Here's the only time I could find where Krispy Kreme actually donated, and it was in 2015, 7 years ago. We got their premier sponsors here. DirecTV was on their platinum. That was a big one on the list a lot of people were talking about. But I didn't see them donating any other years other than this one. And then if we scroll down a little bit to the bronze sponsors, bro, Krispy Kreme and the NFL here. I couldn't find any other year where Krispy Kreme actually donated. The NFL, obviously, but it was like the NFL Foundation. But Krispy Kreme 7 years ago was a bronze sponsor for a drug-free kids event. And now they are getting dragged on the internet by stoners. It's kind of funny to me. Now, sure, they did donate in the past 7 years ago. Maybe they've donated before. Maybe they've donated to other anti-drugs or anti-weed things. I didn't really look into that. I couldn't find it up. I just did so much digging on this one subject. I saw it being reported in a few different places. And I was like, bro, they didn't do any research on this. They didn't look at all. And be honest, guys, a lot of the times if you donate, you don't know what you're donating to. I get asked to donate everywhere I go. You buy a sandwich, do you want to round up to the next dollar? You go to the grocery store, hey, do you want to round up to the next dollar so we can pay Kenny, the homeless guy that lives out back, to keep raccoons away from the dumpster? Like, a lot of the time you might not know what you're donating to. I don't want to say that's the case here, but after doing some research, it doesn't look like Krispy Kreme donated recently. And what they did donate to, the event is literally called Drug Free Kids Campaign. Like, I would donate to that. Hey, you want to give me $1 to keep kids off drugs? Yeah, kids shouldn't be on drugs. I did find this. I just want to show you that I was doing research. In 2017, on their 19th annual one, I found that one of the co-chairs, one of the leadership teams was an executive chairman of the board of directors for Krispy Kreme. This is years ago. It looks like these lists kind of switch up all the time. Maybe it's made up of people who donate or people from companies who donate. But the last mention of Krispy Kreme I could find was in 2017, and somebody was on their team, their leadership team. But then when I looked at the list of donors, it wasn't on there. This doesn't have the logos on it, but this is the list of donors from that year. No Krispy Kreme on there. They just had somebody from the board on there. So this was one of the articles that I saw. Let me just show you the headline. Anti-drug group hides corporate sponsors like NFL and Krispy Kreme amid backlash over bid to block marijuana bill in Senate. Now, I don't think that's exactly the case. While it easily looks like that, I don't think that's exactly the case. Like, look at the leaflet title. Krispy Kreme is paying to keep weed illegal. Big Donut is teaming up with the NFL, Big Pharma, and the Methodist Church to defeat legalization in Congress. Bro, they are selling it. The donor list is no longer posted on the CADCA's website, but we saved screenshots and gathered the brand logos. Here's your guide. You did all that, but you didn't do any research. And I did want to make this point. I didn't show it earlier, but just look at the URLs. We got the DFKC, that's the Drug-Free Kids Campaign, 2022 partners. We have it abbreviated here, but then they spell it out here. And then they have like events, dinner, and the year after it. Their website is not very well organized, very well put together. It's like some of these slugs sync up, like this one and this one match. Sort of. Yeah, this one and this one match. But if you swap that data out to like 2020, 2022, it doesn't match up. So the website isn't very well put together, but it was so easy for me to find all of the information, all of their recent sponsors or recent donors, recent corporate partners, however you want to look at it. And it just looks like recently Krispy Kreme hasn't donated, even though they've been getting dragged by stoners. So sure, maybe they donated in the past, but if we're going to share a list of a bunch of brands to boycott because they're actively trying to keep weed illegal, then make sure you got like the right list. Make sure you update the list of brands. And it looked like somebody just copied somebody else's homework and somebody copied somebody else's homework. And then I'm looking at a final product like, oh, this is easily wrong. Because you know, if they knew about NBA and Walmart, they would put those right on the list. Either way, I'm not a journalist. I'm not saying the CADCA is a good organization. I don't really know. I think they have in the past like asked people to write their senator to like keep weed illegal. So like, I don't know, but I did want to do a little bit of digging and give you guys the information I found about Krispy Kreme, because there's so many people right now so ready to never have a glazed donut again. And I haven't had Krispy Kreme in years, but like, I'm not like, yeah, I'm gonna boycott them just to sound cool. So eat donuts if you want. If you really want to boycott, don't go to Walmart. Don't watch the NFL, the NBA, and you can go on their website and find the list of recent sponsors and maybe pick and choose who you want to boycott. Appreciate you watching. This is a much longer video. I didn't realize it was going to go this far. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, and let me know who you think makes the best donuts. Is it Krispy Kreme? Is it Dunkin' Donuts? Is it like one of those voodoo donut places or one of those weird spots where they just put a ton of candy and cereal on it and tell you it's a donut? I don't know. Come get high with me on Twitch after 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you didn't hear about that time I was at 12,000 feet on 1,500 milligrams, check out this story right here. I was very high and I was very high. Have a lit day, my dudes.